Welcome to the Hot Rod Hangout Podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Ashley.
And special guest in the house, Brad Jackson with Shift and Shutter Photography. What's going on, man?
Not a lot, man. How you doing?
Oh, just living a dream. Sweating our asses off down here in Florida.
I bet.
So, it's all
horrible
good.
Here in Kentucky.
Yeah, it's not much better up there. So,
for sure.
So, seen a bunch of the work. Seen you working on it's a Firebird, right? Or Camaro?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
79 Firebird.
Hell yeah. See you chugging along on that project. So, what originally got you into this crazy obsession?
It's kind of always been there. I'm here in Western Kentucky. I mean, Holly's based here, and there's a lot of drag strips and stuff. And I live about 40 minutes north of Bowling Green, where Holly is, and it's kind of the nickname has been Hot Rod City. Like their baseball teams, the Hot Rods, and it's just always the Corvettes built there. So it's always been kind of a car area. So it's just something that's always been omnipresent in my life, and just been obsessed with cars since I was a kid.
It helps when you're surrounded by car stuff. So.
Exactly.
And the car scene changes. I mean, down here it used to be really big. We still have a couple big shows like Turkey and stuff like that, but a lot of the stuff has moved. You know, we don't have World of Wheels anymore. We don't have Bulletproof. You know, they've all kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah. There's a few big ones up around this way that just kind of about the same. Just we have some big shows and things, but there was Carl Casper in Louisville that was always a huge thing, and they haven't done that in years. But yeah, it's a very rich history in hot rods up this way.
Was your family in it, or just you got the bug? And
not really. I mean, here and there, somebody would end up with something cool and work on it, and like I got a lot of motorcycle people in my family. Okay, that was more of a thing than cars, but cars have always been my thing, and I always knew I wanted projects as I got older. Now they're all in my driveway, not running.
Well, what's the favorite car of all those projects?
Definitely love the Firebird. Smokey and the Bandit was like my favorite movie as a kid, and still one of my favorites. So that was like my dream car. And as I got older, like every vehicle I owned until I was 30, every vehicle I owned was red. So I saw this red one, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta have a red Firebird. What the black and gold? I gotta have a red."
Okay. Well, tell us about that build a little bit.
Well, it's a 79. It started its life as a Redbird edition, which was kind of the base model. I think it was marketed more towards women. They had the red bird, they had the Skybird, which was like the baby blue. Then they had a canary yellow bird. I don't remember all the details on that, but found it. This kid about 30 miles from me had it for sale. This was 2012, and I had just sold I had a 93 Chevy truck that I just sold and had some cash. And this kid was needing cash, so I was like, "Hey, buddy," and nothing's really original on it. It's got a Formula hood. It's a 79, but the kid put like a 77, 78 nose on it. It's still got the stock 305. There for a while, all I did was just fix odds and ends and drive it. I drove that thing everywhere, and it seems like something would go wrong every time I drove it.
Hey, it happens. That's part of the old car stuff. We discovered last weekend that a zip tie was holding Michelangelo in time enough to run. and it gave up, and that's why it got hard to start.
Whatever works.
So we put another zip tie on it, and she's running good now. So
exactly.
But
if I had $1 for every zip tie on that car, I could probably buy a brand new one.
Hey, but she cleans up nice. I mean, you know, and that's what we're trying to kind of. That was kind of the reason we started this, was to show people, like, yeah, the nice, pretty cars are cool and all, but you don't have to have, you know, $100,000 in a car for it to be cool.
Yep. Just have something cool, keep it on the road, and just drive it.
Oh, and, you know, the older cars, I assume it's the same way up there. You know, everybody's moving to the newer stuff, so getting... You know, you pull up at a gas station and people haven't even seen it, or if they have, they identify with it from their childhood. You know, my grandpa had one, my dad had one. You know, my high school sweetheart took me to, you know, go get ice cream after the state championship football game. You know, there's so many different stories that we get, and I love hearing every single one of them because it's the personalities. I mean, you know, a new car's supposed to run every time you put it, you know, get in it and hit the button. You know, it's the noise and the rattles.
Firebird. Cannot drive that Firebird anywhere without somebody stopping me and talking forever, telling me stories about theirs, and I love it too.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, and for us, and I mean, you're around our age too, so for us, it's kind of trying to show the older generation that, like, hey, we're still around and we're trying to keep it alive. You know, share some of that knowledge. You know, some of them people got cars tucked away. You know, share some of them cars.
Exactly.
You know, cool speed parts or stuff that they did back then to make it work. And, you know, with Holly being right down the road, and Holly owns basically everything now, so you could, you know.
Yes, sir.
But... So what, unlimited budget, what car would you build? If someone was just like, hey, here's an unlimited budget, just build your dream car, what is the dream?
I would probably go early to mid-60s Coupe de Ville.
My man, big old boat caddy.
I love big girls.
Hey. Yeah, that's definitely a bucket list build for us.
Sure.
You know, I got to get the Model A done, and then I got to get her car done. So she's commandeered the 54. So
nice.
She hasn't made me take the for sale or trade sticker off the back window yet. So we're not 100%, but it's there. We did
always that option.
We did put the low income sticker where we could pull the for sale or trade sticker off and it wouldn't look funny. So it's getting pretty serious.
Nice.
But and now that it's running good, now I hate to get rid of it.
That's how it goes.
So
I'm the same way. I have something like, man, I hate this thing. I get it just right, and I'm like, I'm never getting rid of it.
Oh, we washed it. One of its what we discover 5 times that it's been washed in the last year.
Yep.
One of those 5 times we were washing it, and I don't know where we were going, cruising or something, and we're washing it, and I'm like, Ashley's washing, and I'm doing the rinse, and I'm like, man, this car is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I couldn't believe anybody would want to own one of these. And she's like, I think it's cute. And now it's like growing on me, and I'm getting excited about it.
It's got the face only a mother could love.
Yeah. And I'm getting excited about, we could do this to it. We could do this to it, you know. But it's still staying stock paint. At least the orange part. You know.
Yeah.
You keep changing it up.
It's beautiful.
Oh, I mean, she's got her little blemishes, and I do want to. There's some rust on the doors and stuff like that I want to address, and then try to just patina match it back to. It wouldn't do it justice by doing a restoration. One, you're gonna have way more money in it than it's worth in the end, and
yep.
That's original paint. So we did a little bit of we found a product. I don't know if you've watched the YouTube video on it, but the Flood Pentrol that kind of shined it up. It's like a shine juice type product. Well, it's actually not meant for that, but people were using it for that, and it turned out pretty good.
Gotcha.
So,
Nice.
what other cars you got that you're working on?
Currently that, and I have a 93 Caprice wagon.
You my people, man.
My buddy had a Roadmaster, and we would road trip in that thing. I'm like, man, I love this car. It's so smooth. It's great. And then I had at the time I had a 07 F-150, just base model, didn't have any AC, V6. And my buddy's always wheeling and dealing and selling cars and trading cars. And he was my boss at the time. And I was on my way to work one day, and he's like, come around back, see what I got. And I go back there, and there sits the Caprice. He's like, you want to get rid of that Ford? I was like, yep, let's do it.
So what's the plan for the Caprice?
Well, it's not pretty at all. And it's pretty much bone stock. I've put some 15-inch, forget, some cheap wheels. Some company Holly bought out, and I got these wheels cheap. They look just like generic torque thrusts. I put some low-profile tires on them, so it just looks like it's on the ground. And I've just drove it and had a lot of overheating issues, stupid LT1. And early, about the beginning of the summer, the LT1 finally bit the dust. I was going to a music festival, and I was excited. I was like, I'm driving this wagon. We're putting all our camping stuff in. It's going to be so cool. And it bit the dust like 2 weeks before. I haven't touched it since. But the plan with that now is I have a LS in the garage. I think I'm just going to throw that in there. It's an easy swap.
Yeah.
I could probably do it in a weekend if I actually took the time. And just drive the balls off of it.
Hell yeah.
I might try to do a few things to pretty her up. It's got a little dent in the quarter. Needs fixed.
It's
Other
character.
than that, just drive it.
Yeah, gives it character.
Exactly.
Put the little ouch Band-Aid on it. You know?
There you go.
So
Need some of those low income stickers. Just stick
Hey.
them all over.
our boy Kelly Brownigan, there you go. Yeah,
Man.
I it's so awesome with doing this. It's so awesome to see the people that, I mean, and I don't know if us promoting them is doing any good, but I feel like we are. And we try to help as much as we can because, I mean, even last night, Ashley had the banner, or 2 nights ago, Ashley had the banner in the live, and someone asked, like, hey, where do I get that banner from? I'm like, you got to go talk to my boy. Like, so, but
Any little bit of promotion's promotion. So
you know, and he's always the first person to like share. I mean, he's supports the shit out of everybody, and I love it because we try to do the same thing. And
I never met that guy. If I ran into him in a crowd, I probably would not recognize him. And he's one of the coolest dudes. I would have to give him a big hug. I love that guy.
and it's cool because, like, you know, a lot of the people that we deal with, you know, we all still have full-time jobs, and we're all still just trying to make it. So, like, the kid that's building my chassis, BP Customs, has a full-time job, but he wants to do chassis fab for a real thing. Okay, well, here. And, you know, I got the motor done. He's hoping to have it airing up and down on shop air with a body sitting on it this weekend. So we're getting close, but we're also running out of time. So, because it's supposed to be, we were trying to get it done for Thanksgiving. There's a big show down here, Turkey Rod Run, and I was like, well, it needs to be done like at least 3 weeks before, so I could get some testing in it, because I don't want to show up, unload it off the trailer, and then have to push it back on the trailer and be like, hey, sorry, I couldn't do it. You know, we have the 54, we can cruise it around, not that big a deal, but I was really hoping that car would be done. But it is what it is. I can't stress it. So now, if it's not done for Turkey, it'll be there January 4th for our show. So
There you go.
and personally invite you can come on down, man. I don't know if you got merch, but sling some merch, make it down here. It's at Don Garlits Drag Race Museum, so
That's awesome.
but
He was just up here. Was it last year? They had like a big ceremony for him at Holly when I was still working there, and he was like guest of honor for the nostalgia drags, so it was pretty cool.
he's an awesome, he is really and truly an awesome person, because even when we went up to sign the contract, you know, his office is right behind the guy that we're signing the contract to have it there. And he comes out and tells us a joke and, you know, just carrying on like, you know, and I actually got the opportunity. A gentleman that my dad used to work for was really good friends with him. And I was with him for probably 3 or 4 hours. And finally my dad was like, "You have no clue who that is, do you?" And I was like, "Nope." And he's like, "That's Big Daddy." And I'm like, "No way." Like, because he was just a normal car guy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, he does love
awesome.
Mopars, but we'll let him slide on that one.
It'd be worse.
Hey, but Ashley got, when we went up there, Ashley got to walk through the museum for the first time, and
Yep.
just seeing that, it's awesome. And then he also now has more classic cars in the Classic Car Museum, so it's not just the race car stuff. So
Yeah, it's packed in there too.
yeah, there's not a lot of room, but it's awesome to.
Yeah.
We were to say ecstatic is an understatement when
I bet.
we reached out and they were like, "Yeah, you can do it here," and I'm like, "Yes."
Cool.
Because, you know, I mean,
that's-
everyone, even if you're not like diehard car people, like, you know who Big Daddy Don Garlits is, you know,
Yeah. Sure.
you know, so
Like I'm kind of a casual drag racing fan, and I've heard that name since I was a kid.
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, and the guys that push the limits, and he was one of the pioneers that, you know, when the Bad Rex and but in the interview or in the museum, there's like videos playing, and one of the interviews was his wife saying, you know, he said, "Oh, I want to go racing full time," and she was like, "I don't know if I can handle that. Like, it's okay when you do it occasionally," but he's like, "Well, these people want to pay me to go race, and I think I got to go." And she's like, "Well, if they're going to pay you to go, then I guess you got to go." And I was like, that, you know, and just to see the joy that he has brought to the sport is awesome. So tell us a little bit about Shift and Shutter Photography.
Well, I've always kind of been into photography. Like as a kid, like anytime I would go anywhere, like on a trip or something, I would always have to stop and buy me like a little disposable camera, and I would sit in my room and like set up action figures and do like action shots and stuff when I was like 7 and 8. Like I've always loved photography, and it's just always kind of been one of those things that's always been there. When before even smartphones, like I would have a little point and shoot digital camera, and like my friends hated it because I'd always be like up in their face taking pictures and stuff, and stopping in parking lots and taking pictures of cars. And my big thing was live music. Like I'm a musician. I'm a live music junkie. I've always had a camera I would take to a show. So I've got pictures of shows when I was teenagers and stuff. And during the pandemic, I was working. I was a manager at Walmart, and I was working a lot and making quite a bit of money because I was there 14 hours a day for 5 days straight. So I got to just messing around, and I got obsessed with Goodwill has an auction site, and I was like early pandemic. It was a kind of a hidden gem, and you could find stuff on there. Like I was buying guitars for like $10-15 and flipping them for anywhere from 50 to 200. And a camera popped up on there and it was like $17. And I was like, that seems cheap. I'm going to buy it. So I bought it, and then I was like, I kind of like this, and was messing around taking pictures of my dogs and my cat, and setting my car up in the yard and taking some pictures. And I was like, really, like, actually studied, like, using manual mode or anything. I was like, I'm going to mess with this. And I picked it up pretty quick, and everybody's like, man, that's cool. Will you come take pictures of my car? We take pictures of my kids. So I kind of was like, hey, why don't we try something? And it's technically a side hustle. I have an LLC, but I really don't, like, I'm not making any money or really doing any big work or anything, but I enjoy it. It's fun.
Well, if you can make it down in January, man, take some pictures of the car show.
Right now, work schedule's about to change, and we're about to do like a 4-on 4-off schedule. And as soon as I know what that schedule is, if I'm not off, I'm going to put off. I want to drive down there for that.
Awesome,
maybe
man. We'd love to have
the wagon running.
Yeah, man. That'd be a good. That'd be a good road trip car. I mean, plenty of space. You got stuff for.
It's fantastic for a road trip.
You know, we're building stuff that's not good for a road trip. You know, we'll have to like ratchet strap a suitcase to the roof of the Model A.
Well, that.
Well, Michelangelo, when he's finished,
we'll have no trunk.
But
There's going to be a rear end in it. Yeah, there is. Yeah, it still has a back seat.
Trunks are overrated.
Yeah. The current potential plan for that is a long bed S10 chassis. That way we can get control arms. That way we can. It's way cheaper to bag a S10 than it is a 54 Chevrolet. And
believe that.
Well, just it already has an S10 rear end in it, so we know the widths are right. So
right.
But so, what's a show or event that you try to make every year?
Definitely LS Fest that Holly puts on here in Bowling Green. It's always, I mean, even if you're not into, like, if you're not an LS guy or even a GM guy, there's always just cool stuff there, and the late night scene afterwards always fun. People hanging out in parking lots, and sometimes people doing dumb stuff. But most times, just people just chilling, having a good time. Yeah. There's drag racing, autocross, burnout contests, drifting. It's all a little bit of everything, and that's the cool thing about Holly and Beach Bend Raceway there in Bowling Green's. Like, they'll have in September, October-ish, they'll have LS Fest, and they have Ford Fest, and they have the Mo Party with all the Mopar stuff, and then they have Harley drags and Import Alliance, all like with week after week after week. So you get like all that scene there for like a month straight, all those different scenes, and I love all that stuff. So
it's awesome.
I'm there for it. And then I live about an hour from Evansville, Indiana, and they've been having some cool shows up there. They have the Frog Follies every year. It's all like pre-60s stuff, and I went there last weekend.
I was going to say that would just happen.
I totally forgot my camera and didn't take any pictures. Hit the swap meet and walked around, talked to some people.
That's kind of how Ashley got into photography. Was we went to Turkey and she took 400 pictures on an iPhone.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you're serious, like, if you really want to do this, and I mean, her pictures turned out awesome on her iPhone because technology on these phones now is great.
Sure.
But I was like, if you really want to do this, like, find a camera. I'm not looking to spend like $5,000 on a setup, but, you know, find you a good quality camera that, you know, you can edit. It has more storage than your iPhone. It doesn't take 4 days to upload the pictures to an editing app and all that stuff.
It doesn't overheat. That was my biggest issue with my phone, was it overheat, and I would have to stop and let it cool. And
so
for sure.
She got into it a little bit.
Yep. Now it's...
And now we do this, and it's like, it's hard to, because it's like at our last month's cruising, she's posted up at the front entrance, and I'm trying to like politic, and we had a little mishap, and I'm trying to like calm people down, and like, hey, my shit got fucked up too, like, you know, we'll figure it out next month. We're trying to do it, you know, and she's up there, and everybody's like, well, where? You said it's you and your wife. Where's your wife at? And I'm like, oh, she's the one that's up there hiding behind the GoPro getting all your shots coming in. Oh, well, she should be down here. And I'm like, well, if we want photos, we have to.
It's just us.
You know, so we do have a good support system. I mean, Mom and Dad help us out a lot, but it's hard when you're trying to do stuff and like you're so spread out, and we're figuring out that there's a lot. We started way late in trying to get the show ready, partially because we didn't know, like, you know, when we first started, I was like, man, if we have 100 people on Facebook and, you know, we get, you know, 10 listens an episode, I'll be ecstatic. And then Brian from the Hometown Hot Rodder found us, and that number went crazy. And then I'm like, well, maybe we are decent at this. And then looking at downloads and listens, and I'm like, well, people are actually paying attention to us. This is kind of weird, you know? And then the timeline, because we've never put on a show, we've never asked about graphics, we've never, you know, tried to do any of that stuff, you know, in my head, it's like, oh, it shouldn't take that long. Like, we can definitely find a venue, and you go talk to a venue, and the venue's like, car show? No. I'm like, okay, well, next. And food trucks. Anybody that's listening to the podcast that has a food truck and would like to come to Florida January 4th, you're more than welcome to reach out to us, because we're having so much trouble with food trucks. But it's all good. We'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll come together.
Yeah, it's partly because of it being our first show. Like, everything's a hurry up and wait. Like, because we don't really know what order we're supposed to be doing it in. Like, is this too early to do this? Well, we don't want to wait till the end and not be able to get it done. So then it's like, well, just do it. Right. And then, so, you know, it's all good, though.
Anyway.
So, what's a show that you've never been to that you'd like to go to besides the Hangout in January?
That was my number one answer. I'd like to hit some stuff out west. Like, I've been kind of landlocked up here in the southeast for most of my life. I've done a little bit of traveling, and a couple years ago I went to New Mexico, and I really liked it out there. I'd love to go to what's the big truck show in Arizona, the Chevy truck show?
Dino's?
Dino's. I'd love to go to that.
Dino's Get Down, yeah. That's another awesome story on how that all started.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
At his house, getting ready to go to Good Guys, and then it outgrew his yard, so he did it at his appliance store, and he fed everybody spaghetti, and then he was like, oh, I can't afford to feed everybody anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then,
me and my buddy almost went last year, like, spur of the moment. He's like, you want to go? I was like, can't.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's hard when, you know, with day jobs, and day jobs always get in the way of your car stuff.
Yes, sir. But it funds it, so.
Well, it's the double-edged sword, though.
Yep. I want to head out west and hit more shows. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Take some time off, and I'd like to go to like Ventura and shows like that.
Oh, have you ever been to Evil Shindig?
Yeah, I went. I didn't go last year. I went the year before. Me and my dad went up there. It was a pretty cool show, and it's. I ran into those guys at Frog Follies this year. They had a booth set up, and they were kind of talking about a little bit of the stuff they got going on. I'm excited. I'm definitely going to try to hit it this year.
Yeah, we one of Ashley's favorite YouTubers, Corey and Hannah Wheat. They always go and see the videos, and that was how I knew that the frog thing was last weekend, because they just posted a video on it.
Yeah.
So
That's a cool little spot for a show and stuff. And they usually have a big swap meet vendor area. It's really cool.
yeah, definitely. And the swap meets, I feel like the big swap meets have survived, but like the little, like our swap meet, they moved and it's gotten better. But there for a little while, it was like you would go and there would be like 4 people and it's the same stuff every month.
Yeah.
But then they moved to a bigger place and filled it.
Well, and I think part of it too, because they were kind of in the middle of almost nowhere, and then they moved right next to a major interstate. So now people can come from further and not get lost in the woods.
Yeah,
for sure.
But they've been at the fairgrounds for probably 20 years, and then they just recently moved, like Ashley said, next to the interstate. And the first weekend they were there, or the first month they were there, me and Dad went, and I was like, oh, let's just go check it out. And he called me and he's like, dude, are we going to the right place? Like, all these cars are for, and I was like, and the closer we got, you could see, like, no, those are car parts, bud. Like, it was back to what it used to be, because we got out of car, my dad got out of hot rods for a while just because of, family life, driving an hour to work every day in a 68 Chevelle Malibu with a 4-speed. Wasn't really practical, so that had to go so he could find something with some fuel mileage, and sacrifices for family. But, and then I kind of always had a little bit of, like, want to be in the cars, but never really. The old cars, like, kind of seemed unobtainable.
Yeah,
I
feel that.
And I was given the opportunity. I worked on some stuff and got to kind of tinker to kind of keep my passion there. And then we got into bikes, and then the bikes took over for years. And then when me and Ashley got together, I was like, well, have you ever been into cars? And she's like, I want to be. And I'm like, well, let's get back into cars then.
There we go.
So, and then, that was... kind of told her, I was like, hey, if you want to hang out, like, it's probably going to be in a garage, so if you're cool with that, like,
first back in cars.
Yeah, she so the 54 was our first car together. And then
that's cool.
The first time we went to a car show and someone took a picture of us in our rusty hunk pulling in, and she's like, that guy just took a picture of us. And I was like, yeah. And thumbs ups and, people coming over and telling your story, like, oh, does it still have the 3 on the street? No, it's got an S10 5-speed. Oh, man, I took my wife. I learned how to drive in this. We used to drive a 54 around my dad's field, my grandpa's field. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, because who knows? I mean, one of those people may have owned that car at one time, just knowing or hearing what the passion that people have for their car. It's different than anything else.
I love hearing those stories. I love just sitting down and, which I'm kind of always been an old man. Like, I used to go hang out at the truck stop at 5 a.m, drink coffee with the older guys, and just love listening to their stories about everything, mostly cars.
Well, that's our cruising has kind of turned into that, because, one of the kids that I graduated with, he moved to Arizona. He always had stuff on air. When he moved to Arizona, they put everything on hydraulics. Mm-hmm. Even if it's a park and chill, like not hopping setup, like everything's on hydraulics. So when he come back, he was originally the first person I talked to about doing my chassis, and he was like, I'll build you a chassis, but it's going to be on hydraulics, not air ride. And I'm like, I'm not hopping a 29 Model A, dude. And he's like, you don't have to hop. And I'm like, but that was my perception of hydraulics was, you big pumps, big batteries, that was what you did. And he's like, no, you can do it this way. You can set it up. It'll ride good, yada, yada, yada. And I've told him 2 or 3 times, hey man, because he's got a Passat on hydraulics. I'm like, bring your Passat out to the cruising, man. And he's like, I don't even have a tag or insurance on it, like, because no one wanted to cruise around. And I'm like, well, here's your opportunity, man. Come cruise. And our cruise is like old cars, which is cool because we dig old cars, but it's still like, you know, the whole point of this was to get young people to come and like show the old people or older generation that, you know, there are some of us still around that want to hang out and have an ear open. And that was why our hangout show is everybody's welcome. I want mini trucks. I want lifted trucks. I want, you know, the truck scene. I want everybody there to kind of bridge the gap of, because we're all doing the same shit. You know, exactly. Mini truckers are body dropping, which is channeling to a hot rodder. You know, we're all putting big wheels, we're all putting big tires. You know, it's all the same stuff. It's just different applications.
Exactly.
So it's, you know, and people get a little concerned or perturbed with the 54 because it's like, oh, are you going to paint it? No. You know, oh, when are you going to do this to it? I'm not. Oh, well, it needs this. No, it doesn't. You know, it's mine. Well, hers. You know, if she wants it to have that, it'll have it. You know, my dad's truck, 34 Ford pickup truck, and we went to a gathering and people are like, oh, it needs a 32 grill. No, it has a grill shell. It looks good on the truck. Why would I change it? You know, oh, well, it needs this. But it doesn't. It's fine. Could use a shorter shifter because he's got a big, tall car that gets in the way of his knees because there ain't much room in a 34 Ford. But he digs it. It looks really cool sitting still, and he can deal with the bullshit while he's driving it. So it works. But there's just so many. And, you know, we just had a kid start at work, and he's like, yeah, I'm into cars. And I'm like, oh, cool, man. Like, what do you got? It's a new Mustang. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, but that was kind of like, I'm into cars. And I was like, well, we could talk all day about cars. Like, me and you we'll have a conversation. And it's just like, oh, no, like, I have it. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, get out and enjoy it.
I had a conversation like that, similar to that yesterday with a kid I work with. He's like, I got a '94 Mustang. I was like, oh, what you done to it? Well, not a lot. And just, I got to talking. I was like, well, this is cool. But if you don't like that, this is cool. And
yeah,
like I got him fired up. He's like, I'm gonna go home and start riching on it.
There you go.
Do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is getting out, enjoying your car, enjoying the stories. And who knows, you may meet somebody that's got the knowledge to do something that you want to do, but you either don't have the knowledge or the balls to do it.
Exactly.
Because some of them old guys, they act like they don't like modified vehicles, but if you could flip back through their mind, you know, some of them builds from the 50s and 60s were pretty sketchy.
Yeah. Some wild stuff.
And they were still out driving the piss out of them, you know.
Yep.
So that's good. I wish that there was more response from kids. Like we see people at the gas station, and like little kids will ask like, "What is it?" You tell them, and it's like, "Oh, that's cool." And you're like, "Hey, you want to sit in it?" Like, trying to get, because I know I had that emotion, like you're sitting in it and it's rumbling and the rattles, and you know the doors might not shut all the way, so you got some wind noise, like that all like invokes the emotion of like, this is what I want to do, like this is,
yep,
you know. And you don't have to have big wheels, you don't have to have, you know, doesn't have to be ridiculously modified. You know, if your skill set's peeling 3M tape and sticking a AutoZone intake or a hood scoop on your stock Geo Metro. Well, cool, man. If you dig it, that's all that matters. Like,
for sure. Well, you got to bring up the Geo Metros.
That was Ashley's first car.
A 1994 Geo Metro.
I love them.
That was also her first car accident.
Yep. And all because...
Best friend had 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And now she don't like smart cars. She don't like anything small.
That's why.
I would
small cars.
I would own a smart car in a heartbeat.
For sure. You ever see those that they Hayabusa swapped?
Yeah. Or Lyft.
That would be fun. Yeah,
there's a company down here that, what was it, 31s or 33s they're putting on them?
33s, I think.
33s on a smart car? Like, that's ridiculous. Cool.
There's a tire shop just like right across the state line in Tennessee that has one on 33s. And I'm like, every time I drive by, man, that thing's so cool.
And you can literally load it in the bed of my pickup truck. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm not mine. Mine's a little tall to be loading anything in the bed of it, but we put the groundhog in it.
Yeah, but that's the groundhog. You're talking about a car.
There's a wheel, there's a way.
Yeah. There was a guy, I think it was at Slamfest or somewhere, and he had a F-350 dually, and then he had a smart car in the back of it. And our neighbor has an F-350 dually, and he has a smart car, and they're painted the same. He took the whole car apart and spray painted it to match his truck, and I'm like, I'll come help you load that in the bed of the truck.
Years ago, I worked at Walmart, and a guy drove one and parked it in the shopping cart corral deal. Just parked it right there in the middle of it because he couldn't find a parking spot. My manager's like, I kind of want to page him and be like, you can't do that. He's like, but I'm kind of impressed.
Well, I mean, there's so much like avenues you could take again, like the Busa swap, Faster Probs on Instagram put a K-Series, twin turbo K-Series, like the whole front end underneath the back end, and like it was super wide, and they just let it ride. And, there's just so many, and I don't care what it is. If you dig it and your hands are in it, cool.
Yeah, that's if you're passionate about something and you like want to sit and tell me all about it, I will sit and listen all day, and I'll get excited. Like I have a buddy he's huge into like electronic dance music, and that's something like I grew up. I live in the bluegrass capital of the world. Like bluegrass music was literally like named 5 minutes from my house. And like, I have no idea about this stuff. And he like is going on this tear telling me, and I'm like, yes, amen. I love this. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm talking your head off. I was like, keep talking.
I'm almost there. Like, just keep going. I might get it. And that's
fires you up. It fires me up.
I've had conversations, and we're not always the nicest to the squatted trucks and the mud tires on big wheels and rubber band mud tires. And like, I've reached out to a couple of them, and I'm like, listen, man, like, I know we're not nice to you, like, but come on and tell us why you want to be that way. And I'll probably never hate on you again, but like, no one will tell me why. And it's like, just come on, have a conversation. I promise I won't talk shit. I just want to know, why. Same with, stuff that we don't understand. I mentioned the hydraulics thing. When he first told me that, I was like, I don't want anything on hydraulics. I don't understand them. That doesn't mean that if a hydraulic car rolls by, I'm not going to go chase it down and look at it, because that bitch is badass and it's got way more engineering in it than it came with the factory with. But it's like, that's not me. But it doesn't have to be me. As long as you dig it and you're out and you're enjoying it, I just want to know why. Tell me the story on it. Tell me the progression. You were a mini trucker. you got tired of getting stuck on speed bumps, so you lifted a truck. You know, like, I like to know the backstory. How did we end up here?
Right.
You know, because there's guys that have, they go, you're now able to go buy a factory race car. And they're just like, well, instead of buying a Fox body Mustang, that's a race car from the factory, putting God's motor and LS in it, and, some Chinese hairdryer that sloppy mechanics said will run 8s. He's like, I can just go buy a Demon 170 and go run 9s with the AC and the radio. Like, I don't need a cage. I don't need any of that. He's like, okay, so you have a lot of money and that's what you wanted and you went and did it. Like, that's cool to me.
Good enough.
But we try to have a conversation. We try, because there's going to be weird builds. There's people that don't understand our builds. Yep. I had a guy that was super excited about the Model A build. And now that he knows it's on Air Ride, he won't talk to me. And I get it. He's a super traditional guy. Traditional to a T. And that's not his cup of tea. But it's not your car. You're not spending the money on it. So why does it matter what I do with it?
Exactly.
And we're hiding all the air suspensions, so at ride height it'll look like a traditional hot rod. So, yeah.
Well, no.
We're hiding the air suspension is in the cross member itself. So it's just going to look like a leaf sprung Model A that might be a little lower than stock. Well, and then hit the switches, and the only thing that says that it's going to have air ride is the air tank. And that was just because, shout out to Vixen Air Ride. They sent a 5-gallon tank, and I was thinking about using 3-gallon tank so I could hide it in the frame rails. But it is what it is.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
So what is one piece of advice that you would give someone trying to get into the car culture or this car obsession?
It's like you said, if just kind of like what you like, do what you like. Don't let anybody else discourage what you like or how you do something. Squat your truck if you want to. Like you said, have a good reason. Let me know about it. Yeah, don't get discouraged and keep at it. Don't let anybody talk you out of liking what you like unless they have a good reason.
I'll clarify. I don't hate squatted trucks as long as they're safe.
You know what you're saying.
These guys that jack them up where they can't see over the hood and they run over cars that are immaculate, sure. Those are the cars I have a problem with. I grew up in Florida. Every truck that was ever going to go anywhere near a mud hole was 2 or 3 inches higher in the front. Mm-hmm. My tow pig is 3 or 4 inches higher than it is in the back. I don't have a problem with it being a little squatted. It's when you jack the front end up 12 inches and you lower the rear end 8 inches and all you can see is the sky. Well, I don't understand it. Yep. All right, baby. Hit us with the dates.
All righty. Well, September 1st, this weekend, we got the Sumter Swap Meet at Florida Classic Park in Brooksville. Opens at 7:30. Then September 15th, our monthly hangout at the Cove in Inverness from 11 to 2. Third Friday Cruising in downtown Inverness, September 20th from 5 to 8. And then rolling into October, Trash the Classics, their show, Rats and Rods Car Show in Okeechobee County Fairgrounds. October 5th and 6th opens at 10 on Saturday. And the Sumter Swap Meet again, October 6th opens at 7:30. Third Friday Cruisin', October 18th. And that same weekend, Slam Fest in Florida State Fairgrounds in Tampa, Florida, October 19th through the 20th, opens at 8 on Saturday. We will be there Saturday. But Sunday, we will be at our monthly hangout at the Cove, October 20th. And then to wrap up October, we have Florida Drag Strip Riot Drag Race and Car Show at Orlando Speed World Dragway. October 26th opens at 7 a.m. Then, not to get into all the details, November 28th through December 1st is Turkey Rod Run, which we will be. And, of course, January 4th, the hangout at Don Garlett's Drag Race Museum.
Hell yeah.
Boom.
I'm excited for you guys.
Thank you.
Do you have anyone that you would like to shout out before we go through our list?
Shift and Shutter Photography. Go follow me on Facebook. Might still have a website. I need to. I've neglected so much stuff this summer. I've had so much stuff going on. I'm getting kind of back in the groove, and I want to get. Definitely going to be out at LS Fest next weekend, snapping photos. So if anybody's in Bowling Green, Kentucky for LS Fest, hit me up. I'll come take some pictures of your car.
Sweet.
Hell yeah. Well, big shout out to Johnny Jalopy, hot rod artist who's doing the show art for the hangout.
Oh, yes. And also Throttle Addict, using code word Hot Rod, you get to save 15% off.
Make sure you go show BP Customs some love. They'll be debuting a Kenna's truck at Slamfest.
Yeah. Very exciting. And, of course, we also want to shout out the Cove for letting us have our monthly hangout at their facility every third Sunday of the month.
And also, shout out to Kelly Bromagen with Low Income Clothing and his son, Low Income Photo.
Yes. His son's been posting a lot of pictures lately, so definitely go check them out.
And also a big shout out to Shift and Shutter Photography.
Yes.
Go show him some love. His information will be in the bio or in the show notes.
Yep.
All right, guys. Till next time, get out, drive your shit.
See ya.
Later.